Yo, what's going on, guys? Going to run through a quick trade recap from Google today. So I'm going to run through some of the time frames, thought process, reason why I had it in the game plan. So just to start off, want to run through just like some of the higher time frame stuff with Google and Apple. The reason why I'm more so bullish on some of these names versus some of the other tech names we normally trade. So on the higher time frames, so per se like the daily and the 4 hour, we're still ranging pretty close to all-time highs, still above your old all-time high key level right here. So that being said, we did make new lows on Friday for a bounce off the bottom of this range. So my thought process is when we come down to the lower time frames, or you could say the mid time frames, the last key level you essentially have was your Wednesday's highs, and then obviously your previous day's highs, plus I guess like a pivot here from Thursday. That's kind of my key levels. Also, you see some reactions around here a few times actually. So some resistance back here, resistance from Wednesday's highs, and then even into Thursday, this key level. Got a closure above it, but didn't mean too much. So that being said, for the game plan coming into today, if we get above this key level, I'm going to want to take longs on that name. I also want to run through SPY and QQQ a little bit. So the key level for QQQ to hold above or to even reclaim would technically be your old all-time high, as well as potentially your Friday's highs from the 24th. So I'm going to run through the time frames a little bit here. Friday's was your old all-time highs as well. I don't like this level as much. It's good for a reclaim, but if we can hold above this old high from Friday, that's essentially your key pivot, as well as your pre-market level potentially. That was my thought process. If we can hold this, then I'm going to take longs today. So that's kind of the little bit about the game plan, a little bit about the thought process, and we did have a strong push at the open, so more likely to lean to the bullish side. Same thing with SPY. As for some of the other tech names, maybe why I wasn't looking at those for longs, I'll run through those as well. So Apple today, I did like if we did break out of your essentially there's actually a few highs if you run back here, but mostly your Thursday's highs from last week. That was the game plan. Saw a clear rejection off there, so no real setups. Wanted to trade it above your 273.34, or sorry, 273, yeah, something like that. That was the idea here. If you check out the chart, trade it above that range. For some of the downside trades, Nvidia, Palantir, AMD I'm a little bit more neutral on, but still leaning a little bit toward the bear side. Nvidia today, we did end up reclaiming your old all-time highs. Didn't see as much. I was hoping for a rejection here. If Qs was going to break down, that was the main idea. If Qs was going to break down, then I could see the rejection of this key level. Clearly you saw a few reactions, but nothing really quite there to take a trade off of, considering Qs was strong and was holding key levels. So I'm not really going to lean to the short side. Similar to Palantir, we actually had a really big push up. But if you jump to the some of the higher time frames, we kind of have this sharp V-shape recovery. So if we did reject maybe some of your key levels, I'd be more inclined to short just because the chart doesn't look as good. We did technically bounce off some lows here, but I don't really like it as much. Potentially the reclaim above your old all-time high was solid in pre-market, but if we broke down maybe below this level, your 188, I'd be more likely to be on the short side, right? Not as strong looking, right? If you look at Nvidia or Palantir, not as, or even Tesla, for example, not as strong as Apple or Google or even Apple per se, right? Just looking at some of the time frames. So now that I've ran through that, I'm going to go over kind of the low time frame setup, because obviously we use break and retest model to enter all of our trades. So we did end up breaking one above your pre-market high and also above that 286 key level that we just went over. So at this point, I'm just going to look, because we had a few solid closures too. I'm just going to look for any sort of entry model, any sort of retest model that we teach and that we trade. As well, you did have this pivot that kind of aligned with it as well. So a quick rejection there. So using the one candle rule, I drew out a little zone here to potentially have a pullback into a retest for. This trade specifically, I like 4 to 10 candles, or generally speaking 4 to 10 candles. We had about 5 until the actual retest itself. For the entry, It was simply just a, we were forming above this previous candle right here, this green candle. So as soon as I have that low time frame breakout and I have that structure formed, I know that we're kind of forming a V shape off this key level. A few good things to note here as well: no closures into this level or even below it. So we had these 2 wicks right here, which was a good sign for entry. We also did have a good amount of displacement as well. We had candles close above it, so that's kind of the entry. Stop loss would have just been below here. This one was a little bit more size, so I didn't really want to place the stop just below the key level. I was simply just going to close it out here and potentially re-enter. Candle close below. Took off 70% at the high of day right here. It was around 1.75 R. I could have maybe done 80 just because of these market conditions, a little bit more uncertainty, I would say. Took 70% off, and I took a few more scales into this candle. I only had 5 contracts left over after the major push. I think it was only like 10% left here, and I cut that last 10% when we came back, and we actually closed bearish. So took profits high of day, and I took a few more scales into some of these candles here. I can always post the executions. And then after we came back down, we had this massive red candle, probably filling in some of these major gaps here on the 1 minute at least, maybe coming back down for a retest of the high of day. In this case, I saw this candle close bearish with a few of these candles, so I ended up closing it out just, in profit still, not exactly break even. Loss of momentum, I would say. Started consolidating. Looks like it was the correct decision. Could have probably held on to it maybe until down here, until break even, but it made sense to close it out here for me, considering these, 3 candles. So a little bit about the trade. Close it out after the 10:03 candle close, technically right here. And yeah, that's a little bit about the trade review, trade recap from today. Hopefully you guys learned a few things. I have the coaching running, so if you guys want to book in for that this week, that's solid. And yeah, all right, I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.